think wins in a fight, you or Prime Floyd?
Me.
No questions?
Why would you think that I was...
world that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd, I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao because he got these opportunities so late.
This is the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of.
The bad man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the bad man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the...
Terence Crawford confidently responded to Floyd Mayweather after Mayweather claimed he could defeat him. Crawford stated that he would beat Mayweather even at his peak and emphasized that history will remember him as a fighter who took on every challenge. He pointed out that no one can accuse him of avoiding anyone, as he always faced anyone ready to fight. Crawford also made it clear that he would not back down if a fight with Mayweather ever became a reality.
This, and then that's when Floyd started taking over.
What do you want your legacy to be like when your career is all said and done? What do you want people to remember you for?
Oh man, everybody's asking me the question. I always be like, man, it's whatever it's their opinion. Everybody gonna have a different opinion of Terence Crawford, you know. But one thing they can't say is that I ducked anyone. You know, I fought everyone that was available.
Dan Raphael thinks Terence Crawford has reached a point where he doesn't need to fight anymore to secure his legacy. He says Crawford has already achieved a lot by dominating divisions, winning unified titles, and defeating top opponents without ever showing weakness. Raphael adds that now it's not about proving anything but about protecting what he has built and enjoying the respect he has earned. In his opinion, Crawford has exceeded expectations, and taking more fights wouldn't change his place in boxing history. His mastery in the ring, especially in recent years, is enough to make sure he is remembered as one of the sport's greats.
Do now, like what's the next thing that he does? Because you look around and go, is the only way that he really gets that, maybe that ultimate chance if he goes up again? And do you say, you know, what do you do?
I don't quite. Yeah, I mean, you know, he was asked those questions at the press conference. He made two things clear. One, he's not going back to 154, and I say that because some people suggested about possibly pursuing a fight with Ennis, who has his debut in the weight class coming up.
Yeah.
That's probably unlikely. He's not going to go back down in weight. And I mean, no disrespect to Ennis, but Ennis is a guy that's known within the diehards of boxing. He's not in any way known beyond the boundaries of the hardcore boxing fans. So yeah. I don't know if that makes sense for a lot of different reasons for him. Not to say I wouldn't, as a boxing fan, enjoy watching the fight. So, yeah. But I don't think he's going back to 154. He was asked about like a Benavidez at 175, and he acknowledged like that guy's really big. I mean, that's maybe a bridge too far. He already went up to 2 weight classes to fight Canelo at 68. So it feels to me like he can either stay at 168 and defend this championship and look to the same types of names that were being thrown around as the types of guys that would have been in the mix for Canelo had he won the fight. And you know, he's going to have mandatories. Obviously, that's the first thing they'll have to look at. I mean, I don't know if he's not going to necessarily keep the belts if he's forced into a mandatory. He doesn't need the belts at this point, but there might be something appealing to him. You know, for example, you know, and Billy had a great fight on the undercard, although he's been ordered to fight a rematch in that fight. Mm-hmm. That was, you know, tight, like fight of the year against Les.
The way Terence Crawford thoroughly outboxed Canelo Alvarez has sparked big discussions in the boxing world. Fans and analysts quickly began comparing this win to Floyd Mayweather's victory over Canelo. Mayweather defeated Canelo when he was younger and still developing, while Crawford faced a more experienced and refined version of the Mexican star, leading some to debate who is truly better. Luke Thomas added context, noting that Crawford's rise came much later than Mayweather's. Floyd became a major name early and fought top-level opponents young, while Crawford had less exposure due to limited promotion, which delayed his peak years. Thomas explains that even if Crawford's win looked more impressive, it doesn't automatically put him above Mayweather, since timing and career path are crucial for fair comparisons.
Just skill offensively and defensively, simply making another very good fighter look lesser than. This was the other part. The people who watch MMA and then try to watch boxing through an MMA lens, I don't know what to tell you. You're actually missing the point. The kind of specific details and the depth of the technical ability far surpasses even what you can get at the highest level of MMA because they don't have that level of skill. There is no equivalent in MMA to Bud Crawford because there cannot be. Bud is the most talented boxer I've seen since Mayweather.
I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
To be fair to Floyd, he obviously had hand problems in his whole welterweight run, and it's why he took that long stretch off in 2007, 2008, 2009 area, and Floyd's brilliance to be able to be just as great in some ways at that age. We're not here trying to dunk on Floyd. When you get a victory like this, right now, straight up, Luke, you could say that there's not a welterweight, junior middleweight, or maybe even super middleweight. When you could say over like a 4-division stretch, Bud cut down to any of these weights, that there's not another guy in the world that can beat you right now, that's Mayweather level. Head to head at their welterweight primes, Bud versus Floyd, I feel like a lot of us might actually be picking Bud right now. But what he achieved, I cannot put him above Mayweather or Pacquiao because he got these opportunities so late.
This is the problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late. I find Bud to be as defensively sound as I've ever seen a fighter.
Buddy McGirt was one of the strongest supporters of Terence Crawford after the Canelo fight, calling the performance complete domination. McGirt said Crawford controlled the fight from the first bell and never let Canelo set the pace or apply his usual pressure. He emphasized that the victory was so one-sided that a rematch isn't needed because the skill gap was obvious to anyone watching. McGirt also stated that Crawford has finally secured the legacy he has been chasing by clearly defeating a fighter as respected as Canelo. This win gives Crawford a defining moment that cements his greatness for fans and boxing history. In McGirt's view, there is nothing left to prove because Crawford has completed his story and the Canelo win confirms his place among the sport's legends.
Like, what fight were they watching?
Right.
I mean, it's. I don't know, man. I don't know what some of these guys be doing in this game, man. Some people, in situations like that, they should ask them, listen, just turn in your license, bro. Because there's no way in hell the fight was that close.
Right.
I mean, come on, man. It's just, it's not fair. It's not fair. You get a guy like Terence got here and dominate from beginning to end, and then you find out he needed the last 2 rounds to win. That's scary, man.
It is. And you see how you just mentioned scary. Now, a lot of people are saying, buddy, that type of beating, nah, he's not going to want a rematch. But looking at those scorecards and knowing that, hey, you wasn't too far behind, even though, you know, he did mention that, you know, he's better than Mayweather. But, I mean, what's your thoughts? Do you feel like that was such a beating that Canelo wouldn't want a rematch?
No, you know, I think that, in all honesty, personally, I think that Canelo's at that stage in his career right now, you know, that it's a rematch he don't need. He don't need it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? What we saw that night, that's the stage Canelo's at right now. I mean, he's fought everybody, he's did everything, but you know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He passed the torch to the right guy. You know what I mean? He lost it to Terence fair and square, and he passed the torch. So if you're gonna have another fight, cool, but you don't need to. You have nothing. He has nothing to prove. You know,
When comparing Terence Crawford to Floyd Mayweather, many experts highlight Floyd's mental edge as the key factor that kept him ahead. Most agree that Crawford is extremely skilled, able to switch stances, adjust during fights, and systematically break down opponents. Still, they argue that Mayweather had a deeper mental dominance that made him even more dangerous. Floyd didn't rely only on his physical skills. He also controlled his opponent's thinking, forcing them into mistakes and causing them to abandon their strategies. This ability to take command before and during fights is seen as the main difference between them. Crawford's talent is unquestionable, but the mental control and pressure Floyd applied in every fight is what places him higher for many boxing historians. The comparison shows how close Crawford is to that level while also highlighting that Floyd's mental approach remains rare and unmatched.
Regular Hearns, I've seen Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. Like I've seen all of those things, and those fights were wars. Floyd Mayweather is the best boxer I've ever seen. He's the most skilled boxer I've ever seen. Bud, and this is just my opinion, is the baddest man I've seen wear boxing gloves. And here's why I say that.
RC.
Here's why I say that. Bud is extremely skilled, right? Yet not as skilled as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made people look foolish, right? And so if I had to say who's the greatest I've seen, and Bud said it right, the best of an era and the best of an era, it's Floyd. But when I watched Bud against Canelo, there was this extreme skill on display, and there was a level of crazy that's different. There was a level of, and Floyd's extremely tough. Go back to Shane Mosley and the 2 punches he landed early in the fight and the way that he embarrassed him. I'm not saying that Floyd's not tough, Floyd's not a bad man, but there was domination inside that ring we saw this weekend. And there's no fear in him in the way that he's attacked gaining notoriety. Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up.
For over 10 years, Terence Crawford has proven his talent, but his quiet personality and lack of flash meant many in boxing didn't fully notice how special he was. Unlike fighters who use hype to promote themselves, Crawford let his work in the ring speak for him. This approach earned him respect from true boxing fans but limited his broader popularity early in his career. Only now, after big fights with Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez, is the wider audience starting to see his full skill. Some critics feel this recognition came too late since Crawford is already well into his career and closer to the end than the beginning. Even with more big wins, the chance to build a lasting mainstream image is shrinking. This has led many to wonder how his legacy might look if he had received strong promotion much earlier.
What is the two-headed monster that marks the greatest of the 2000s? Floyd Mayweather is on that, and Bud Crawford is right next to him. I don't think we have to pick on who's better. I think they both dominated their eras equally.
Floyd Mayweather has often been criticized for not giving credit to other great fighters and for resisting the idea of Muhammad Ali being ranked above him in boxing history. Now that Terence Crawford has achieved success that puts him in similar conversations, those concerns about Floyd's ego have resurfaced. Crawford's decisive win over Canelo has sparked discussions placing him near Mayweather's historical level. For someone who carefully protects his legacy, this is difficult for Floyd to accept. Critics argue that Floyd wants to remain the sole standard of greatness in boxing. When another fighter starts to occupy that same space, it seems to challenge his pride. This has led many to believe Floyd struggles with the idea of anyone receiving praise equal to his, which affects how he reacts to Crawford's rise.
Puts him on par with Floyd Mayweather Jr., and you know Floyd Mayweather Jr. doesn't like that. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is one of the biggest egos in the sport, so much so that he could not find a way to give Muhammad Ali credit as being a top 5 fighter and claimed that Roberto Duran sits above Muhammad Ali, right? Why? Because Floyd wants to be better than Muhammad Ali. He completely redid his image when he became Money Mayweather to pretty much copy from calling himself the GOAT, calling himself TBE, right? Whole thing. Very disrespectful of Muhammad Ali when he was coming up, when after Floyd Mayweather Jr. wound up being at the top of the sport. So now that Terence Crawford has firmly placed himself at the top of boxing, and not just as the pound for pound fighter right now, many people are saying, hey, Shouldn't he be considered one of the greatest fighters of all time? Isn't this a realistic conversation we can have? So what does that do? That butts Terence Crawford right up against Floyd Mayweather. So when Floyd was asked a series of questions, right? Because Floyd has a fight coming up. I do believe it maybe in January. I think it may be in January or early 2026, I believe is the time frame, where Floyd Mayweather Jr. is going to be fighting Mike Tyson in a...
Shawn Porter spoke directly with Terence Crawford about what drove him to take on challenges many thought were too big. Crawford explained that for years people doubted him and said he couldn't compete at the top level. Instead of avoiding that pressure, he embraced it and sought opportunities to prove them wrong. His victories over Spence and Canelo are not only career highlights but also personal proof that the doubts were unfounded and the criticism no longer matters.
Get close to him when you want to, not when he wants you to. And you know what I mean? That's how it was.
I know, I'm sorry, I know this is bad production, but we don't need you to turn that phone to the side. I know, I'm thinking about Haiti right now. I'm like, he know better. That's better, that's better. Go ahead, Ant, go ahead.
Hey, but you know how, man, me and Sean, we know you personally. I had people telling me, nah, man, this is just a money grab. He just went up there for the money. I said, man, if you know this dude, but you mentally, bro, I put you in the same category as Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I'm like, he wants to be great. Y'all want the money, but want to be great. Where'd that come from, man?
It's just me, you know what I mean? Like, I think all the greats is just born with that competitiveness, you know? And like I said, you know, a lot of people, they didn't want me to accomplish the feat over Canelo. It wasn't that it wasn't possible. They didn't want me to be the one to do it because I was the one that they was blackballing for years. I was the one that they said, you know, wasn't gonna make it to this table. I was the one that they said couldn't sell. I was the one that they said, you know, made bad business decisions. So of course they don't want me to be the one to make it to the top.
Porter explained that Crawford's decision to face challenges head-on reflects a rare mindset in a fighter. While many would have chosen safer paths, Crawford went after the toughest opponents to prove he truly belonged at the top. That attitude has put him in conversations about all-time greats and ensures his legacy will be remembered not just for skill, but also for his determination, courage, and willingness to take on adversity.